Hopefully you're able to hear everything clearly, and we're coming through great. So hi, my name is Dominey Drew. This is my first time on the air. This is Radical Intimacy with Dominey Drew, and I'm here with my fantastic co-host, Josh.
Good evening.
Josh is brilliant at everything. That is what his resume says.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it does. That's my CV.
Yeah, I may have written it for him, or I may have just mocked him terribly for writing it himself and being that guy. So, hey, everybody. This is, as I said, my very first show. This is a little bit of a test episode. We're not, as you can see, we're kind of working through some kinks, if you will.
We're in beta. We're
in beta testing mode.
Or beta, if you're weird.
Beta? I'm not weird. I'm amazing. That's just a general rule. So, if you ever want to, your volume can go up just a bit.
Okay.
So we're working out a few of the little
Bear with us.
ins and outs.
You don't want me to sing a theme song. So.
Would you?
Well, technical difficulties, plays.
That is really, like the NBC Peacock with the the wrench in his hand. I may have watched all of 30 Rock a couple times. So anyway, my name is Dominey. This is Radical Intimacy, and welcome. So I have a couple of ideas for this show and where I want to go with it and things that I want to do. My field of expertise is actually in sex and relationships. I run a coaching business. I help single men attract a life partner through personal relationship coaching. And I do not do that by introducing them to people or by having sex with them. It's amazing how often I get asked that question. Rather, what I do is I help men see how they're holding themselves back from what they want. So it's a process of self-discovery and mindset management that shows you what you're doing unconsciously that's keeping you from reaching what you're wanting. I do it around sex and relationships and intimacy. So men who are ready for women to
a real woman.
For real race, huh?
For a real woman.
For a real woman, exactly. And not that, not real women are bad because they're out there and they're great. Thank you, not real women, for being not real. Making the rest of us look good.
Thank you, porn stars. Is that what you're saying?
Thank you. All the porn stars in the show. And can I just give a shout out to all the amazing porn stars on this network, because I know a number of them personally. They are fantastic people. I am very obviously I'm very pro pornography. Who's not pro pornography, right?
Maybe Ted Cruz.
Maybe Ted Cruz.
Oops.
I bet he loves it, really. They just don't talk about it. The people who are pro, who are con, they watch it in private. I like to watch mine in public.
Mix it up.
Mix it up, exactly. So this will be very sex positive and pro all the fun, dirty, nasty areas of life. I kind of like the idea of taking a conscious approach, and by conscious I use the word conscious to avoid the word spiritual, because the word spiritual has a lot of I guess just charge around it,
attachment.
And people make it into a lot of things that it's not, and sometimes it is those things, but this being my area of expertise, I see a lot of people who are just doing it wrong.
Or thoughtful. I think thoughtful is another word.
Considering
mindful's
a great word. So we'll use those, but don't let the sort of terminology turn you off. Our idea is very, very much to turn you on. And we want to take what I really want for this space to be is a place where you can ask questions, basically. I'm available on Twitter at Dominey Drew. Dominey is my first name. It is actually my real name. It is Dominey, and Drew is my last name, Drew, and I am at Dominey Drew on Twitter. So if you have a question, please feel free to post it there. And if you would rather keep it confidential, then just send me a little direct message there on the little Twitter birdie thing.
DM.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excellent at social media, in case you haven't gotten that yet. I also learned how to plug things in.
You said the right word, direct message.
I did. See, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm fine. Yeah. So don't be shy to ask questions. This is kind of a space where you, we've got a lot of shit we're going to talk about anyway, and obviously we're going to blow your minds because we're going to be fucking amazing. But if you have something specific that you want to ask about, or whatever our topic of the day is, and you have, an experience you want to share, then please feel free, because I really kind of want to make this your space. So, we talked earlier, Josh and I, about, what kind of questions we wanted to encourage you guys to ask. And I didn't think I needed to say this, but to be clear, like, you can ask questions about me personally and my sex life, but they probably won't get answered on the air. So this is really about your experiences, sex in general, but really anything. I mean, it can be just life in general, but it can also be specific to sex, intimacy, relationships, men, women, attraction, lust, all that good shit.
All the good stuff.
All the good stuff. I really, really gravitate in my life toward the rich, like maybe decadent, a little dirty, but generally just the richer areas of life.
Lurid comes to mind.
Lurid.
Good word, right?
That's a good one. I really like licentious.
Oh, lascivious?
Lascivious. Yeah. Licentious and lascivious I learned at the same time. You want to try and define those?
Whew. Oh. Yeah, put me on the spot.
I am.
Lascivious, I think, is probably something like illicit almost. Like,
yeah.
It's got that kind of...
They're also, like, super similar. It's, like, innate and inherent. It's like there's a difference, but it's so subtle. They're almost...
Yeah, I don't know that licentious I know exactly. The lascivious to me, and please Google it and be correct, but my definition in my head, at least what comes up, is, kind of something...
Whoa. We can't put what's in your head on the air. Oh, I'm sorry. I should have been clearer. That is not...
That's not part of the safe
space. That's a no-fly zone. Like, ladies and gentlemen, you do not want to see in there. Like, it is... Oof.
It's very fun. I have to say, it's very fun. I enjoy it.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Please continue.
Oh, no.
Lascivious versus licentious.
It has like an illicit kind of feel to it. So something that slightly taboo, a little bit, you're whetting your appetite with anticipation.
Yes, I want to whet your appetite.
I can see you shiver.
We're just going to be whetting shit a lot. And I'm always going to say whet.
Whet.
Because I think it maybe is supposed to actually be pronounced whet, but it sounds...
I love that you...
Whet. We are whetting things. All right, can you look up the definition of those two words so we can actually
learn how to
sound like we're smart?
First.
We are super overeducated and bored. So
speak for yourself. I have no education.
All right, we just think we're really smart. So let me just give you logistics first. So Twitter at Dominey Drew. Feel free to sign in and send any thoughts that you have. Our phone number is also 708-793-7769. And it's actually 708-79-DSR for Demon Seed Radio 69. So
of course it is.
Of course it is.
We're on the Demon Spooge Network.
Demon Spooge. It's the best spooge of all. What you got?
So licentious is first definition on the Google is promiscuous and unprincipled in sexual manners, which I think might need to be like it's probably already taken, but I want that Twitter handle now.
Oh, that's so good.
Well, so actually, now that I said that on air, somebody else has got it.
Probably,
but still,
you should like lock that shit down right now. That's brilliant.
Promiscuous and unprincipled in sexual.
So that's what the show's going to be. It's going to be promiscuous and unprincipled. No, that's what the rest of the network is. But what I'm really interested in, I love those. I like the promiscuity. I like the edgy areas. But I want to come at it with with thought, with consideration. Yes, I want to I'm coming at it. I think that now every time I say, "Oh, did you come across this?" I have to like bite my tongue. It's terrible.
Thankfully, we're not we don't have any laugh tracks or we're not gonna turn this into Telemundo.
It's because nobody thinks we're funny. That's why there's no laugh tracks. We actually couldn't even get the audience to laugh.
You have genuine laugh tracks. You could just not match them up like they do on what's the 70s cartoon, the Scooby-Doo.
Oh, Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, they did. The laugh tracks never lined up with the joke.
Oh, really?
It was awesome. Well, or the joke that I thought was funny.
Right. Maybe you were just...
Maybe I was just getting some Scooby snacks, smoking some Scooby snacks.
So that's what this is going to be about. Feel free to call in, ask your questions. And then if you have random questions about random questions about life, or you're actually genuinely interested, spirituality, healing, therapy. You know, you had this experience. What I deal with in my work is life patterns. So, you know, a guy has some, you know, every relationship he gets in ends up being the same. You know, he gets in a certain
Cyclical.
Cyclical, yeah, exactly. You get in a certain amount of time, and then you get bored, or you find the woman of your dreams, and she cheats on you. You know, it's like everything, and people have these patterns, and basically, I help help people figure out where those patterns come from. So there's a big therapeutic element to this, and that's really the invitation is to see yourself and to learn some shit about yourself.
Yeah, self-exploration is always good.
Yeah, it really is. It's really always good. That is the profoundly true statement. So I'm opening myself up as a resource. So feel free to take advantage of that. Stop it.
I didn't even say anything.
It's too easy.
You actually, that was all you.
The other thing is that I'm really expecting that the show will evolve. This is our first show, where we have a great show for you, and we're really excited about it. And also, like, things may change. So if there's if there are elements that you want to see more of, if you have specific questions, if you want us to talk about Tinder, this is going to evolve. So be prepared for that. It may not look the same.
Swipe right.
What's that?
So if you want us to talk about Tinder, swipe right. Is that right?
Wait.
Left.
Only swipe right for me.
Okay.
No.
Yeah. Right is
right.
Is acceptable.
Yeah.
Right. Of course.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Wait.
That's correct.
I'm not sure what happened, but I think we're accurate.
Where are we?
Yes. Where are we? What day is it? Yeah, I got the month wrong earlier today. So if that gives you any kind of idea of what kind of show this is going to be.
It
That's
does.
it. Yeah.
Does. Set the tone. Set
the tone. Exactly. I'm setting
expectations.
So the show is likely to evolve. I'm definitely not going for perfection here. Definitely interested in feedback. But even so, like, I'll figure out what works and what interests me. And if I don't hear anything from you, then screw all of y'all. I'm just gonna entertain myself up here for an hour, which is generally pretty entertaining to other people. So don't be shy. I want to hear from you. Bring it on. Anything else you want to say about that?
No, just it is a safe container. Obviously, everything will be, privacy will be respected.
Yeah.
And if there's something that you want, like you never didn't wanted to answer to, but never had a venue to get that answered, especially with intimacy and sex, Miss Dominey Drew is amazing, and she has probably heard of it. Nothing is probably too taboo or weird or whatever licentious.
Overly licentious.
Overly licentious. Voluptuously licentious.
Oh, I like where you're going with this. This is great.
So she can definitely give you some perspective, and just let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
A little shout out there. Yeah, absolutely. We're both experienced in what's called process work, which is just like therapy, but intensive and more fun and more geared towards the good shit. Because honestly, like, I avoid the word therapy. I don't usually use it. I probably use it more in the last 10 minutes than I have in ages. But it's people sort of think, oh, it's for crazy people, or it's for if your life is falling apart. Here is when therapy is good for you. If there is ever a moment when your life could be better, that's what you go to therapy for. I have people come to me who are completely happy in like nearly every area of their life, but it's like, I could have better sex,
Well, Lewis Howes is he's the School of Greatness. He talks about men. He's got a new book coming out, and he's talking about men basically starting to have a conversation around emotions. And, men are very used to culturally conditioning their bodies. Why would you not condition your, at least your mindset? If you can't get home behind, like, your emotions, condition your mindset. Improve your life every day through mindfulness. I agree, spirituality and a lot of other words are loaded and have, connotation and baggage that brings with them. But from a male perspective, like, I want to get better every day. So especially with my relationships, especially in, my business and all of that stuff, it comes out of your psyche or your ego or whatever, whatever term that you want to use to define your emotional state. And I think that it's really important to at least, I know introspection is scary, but it's something that, you know, if you're going to do some big, climb or just anything that is a physical thing, you prepare yourself. So why, and it's scary starting off. Any endeavor physically, any goal that you set, and there's gonna be a lot of training. All that stuff takes time, takes work, and I think that you're gonna have best results if you actually practice stuff. So I think I'm going down too far of a tangent, but you get what I'm saying. Is that from a male perspective, why would you not train your emotional side and your mindset side the same way that you train your body?
Yeah, and this is really about living the life that you want to lead. It's not about being like, I don't know, I guess for many years I thought spirituality sounded super, super fucking boring. I mean, I still do, and people talk about like enlightenment and like, oh, like just inner peace, and I'm just like, that's like a totally legitimate form of spirituality. It just bores me to frickin' tears, and it's not mine. That's not what I want to be more spiritual for. I want like, the type of connection with a person that just makes me forget that I'm in a physical body. I want passion for days. I want life force, and that's sex and not even just orgasm, but like passion in my life. That's really, really important to me. So like, I don't know if when you hear spirituality, you sort of start snoozing, or like, okay, it's meditation. Like, meditation is epic. Meditation could arguably solve all the world's problems. It is literally that powerful. And literally all you're doing is watching yourself. You're just becoming aware of what you're doing that you don't realize you're doing. And that's a really, really, it's a really powerful thing.
Indeed. Yeah. I just did some breath work, and it was kind of the culmination of it was basically so I had a profoundly, what's the word for it? Mindful state at the end. Like, I would assume that people who meditate for, years get, because I was conscious, but I had none of the running dialogue that I tend to, can't get away from when I try to meditate. So, and the person that was guiding it said it's basically breath work gets kind of a bad rap because people that meditate call it cheating. So awareness, self-awareness. I mean, just that in itself, that to me is something to be strived after.
Funny fact about breath work. Breath work was actually created by Dr. Leary, Timothy Leary.
Mm-hmm.
After LSD was made illegal, he actually created breath work to mimic its effects.
Well, and I am profoundly kind of uneducated about this, so please correct me if I'm wrong, but there's definitely shadowings in all kinds of Aboriginal like practices as well, and it was a very transcendental type of, it was a trippy thing, and it was in one of the most intense experiences I've had, whether it was drug induced or not. It was just one of the most intense experiences I've had in my life recently, and it was very profound and tangible. So I think to kind of speak to your point about spirituality and the fact that oftentimes it's perceived as boring, or just, to me, that the thing that I tend to hear with myself anyways is that it's just kind of this ethereal, kind of intangible, like it's not relatable to me. So when Dominey talks about process work, it's results oriented. Like I don't want to, I don't want to, and I think that's from a male perspective, where efficiency seems to be a very common theme among men.
And like, from mine too. Like, this is crazy. What are we doing here?
Right. Yeah, I don't. The idea of going to a quote unquote therapist and talking about your problems for ad nauseum seems terrible. Like, I'd rather take a swift kick to the testicles. That's like, because you're not really. I mean, you're bringing up uncomfortable, painful shit, and the perception is, at least from kind of that Hollywood in therapy kind of scenario, you just do it. you just keep doing that, and you're like, and you never get over it. Whereas process work that, I've done, that Dominey's involved with, is results oriented. I mean, that's what her whole radical intimacy program is
Yeah.
to get you past the problem.
Yeah, because if your life's not getting better, and I mean from like a few sessions in, or at least shit's changing. Because to be fair, like things can go, things can get worse.
But that's part of the process.
But that's part of the process because you're moving the old shit. So the reason why you get in a pattern, okay, like every woman I date leaves me, or I can never get the woman that I want. That's a really common one. So okay, you can never get the woman you want, and I'm going to talk in a minute about like exactly why that happens. But like there's a whole paradigm through which you're seeing the world. And you're thinking it's reality because it looks and smells and feels like reality, to be fair.
Smells like reality.
Reality smell.
It's probably like a New York elevator or something that's kind of like a little bit of urine, some takeout food. Like that's what reality, like that's what that conjures up.
I'm glad that that's your impression of New York, because that's actually my impression of New York. And I love New York. My brother lives in New York, and
I adore it.
I love it for about 4 days, and then I got to get the hell out before I kill someone.
As long as I could get away, I think I could actually live in New York. I love it that much. So
I may.
Although I only, albeit I only go up. I don't live in New York. I've only gone up there on vacation.
Yeah,
so I'm doing all the
and
fun
it's great
shit.
on vacation.
Yeah, I'm doing all the fun shit. So I might get real old after a while.
I'd like to go up there and teach. Go up there and maybe teach some retreats or some workshops at conventions or something.
Forget about it.
Thank you for that contribution. How do I mute your mic? How does that? No? All right.
Just snip the cord.
snip. So anyway, you have all these life experiences, and you build upon a foundation, like a house. And if you want to change your life, what's happening, then you gotta crack that foundation. You gotta rock it. Basically, it can sometimes feel like your world's falling apart a little bit, but boy, do you get what you want afterwards. It's totally worth it. So let's talk about that in just a minute. You all right? Oh yeah. You can should be able to sign on in there. Yeah, sorry, I didn't have I was just pointing out that I needed to check out Twitter. So I wanted to talk today about attraction. Attraction is one of my absolute favorite topics. And it's more, with attraction, like the way I work with it, it's men being attracted to women. I also specialize in working with men. I realized I didn't mention that before. I specialize in working with men. I will work with women, but I tend to gear my program towards men. It's just, way more interesting and way more efficient. Oh, that was a story I want to tell. Hang on. We'll come back to attraction in just a second. The therapy being effective. I had a client come in. This is several years ago. Had a client come in, sit down on my couch and say, he goes, yeah, I went to a therapist for a while, for maybe about 2 years or so, but I didn't really notice, any difference. And so I stopped. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? You spent money and went every week to an office weekly for 2 years without seeing any results? Like, that's... No. Nope. Okay. A lot of myths about therapy are going to be dispelled on this show because that's crazy talk. If you don't feel some sort of a shift within, max 3 sessions with a person, then that's not your person. If you don't feel safe with that person, that's not your person. You need to feel great. Like when guys start talking to me about, and they're like, is it okay if we talk about sex? And I'm like, fuck yeah. Yeah, we're going to talk about sex. We're going to talk about everything, whatever it is you want to talk about. But like the space is open,
Or the space needs to be open.
Oh, the space needs to be open. I hold the space fucking open. I like creating a safe space where you can just bring out your dark side, because that is where all the juicy goodness is.
Your big throbbing dark side.
Big
Ba-bum.
That's the sound it makes.
I hope not. not. That seems like you should go to a doctor.
By the way, this is not a medical show. We have no medical expertise, and anything we tell you to do is a terrible idea. Don't do it. But only when it comes to shit like that. Anything like spiritual or consciousness, like, we're totally good. We're very comfortable.
Indeed.
Yeah. So attraction. Give me your initial thought on attraction, Josh. What's your favorite thing about it?
Well, I guess it depends on what we're talking about, either relationships. I guess it's really a broad spectrum, but when you're talking to relationships, it seems like, at least with myself, definitely resonates when you talk about cyclical things. Like I can see commonalities in my relationships. So I think that that's really important or it goes hand in hand when you talk about attraction. When you're talking about, I would like to explore kind of like, it's interesting to me why you would be attracted to that. That to me is the more interesting topic.
That is one of my favorite questions. Yep.
So, because obviously, you don't, it would be very odd exchange if you went into a relationship talking about, let's basically call it your baggage. That seems to be a pretty relatable term. Like, hey, do you have this issue? Yeah, I've got that baggage. Sweet. Okay. That dovetails nicely into my, abandonment issues. So,
Yes.
and that's effectively kind of, it seems like what we end up with. So obviously we don't go into relationships like that. It is fascinating to me that we manage to find those people, or in this case, attract, using that terminology, that exact.
Yeah, so that's a great intro. So what he's talking about is that we all carry the fundamental aspect of attraction, and we'll keep it between men and women, but it's literally attraction. Like, have you ever heard of like The Secret and all that type of stuff? Don't get me on my secret rant, but
Law of attraction
is literally like how to bring into your life what you want. And a lot of times it sounds like total fantasy. And I actually teach people how to do it on some level. And really what it is it's not about like magicking something into your life. It's about learning to stop blocking yourself from the shit that you want. So you already want what you want. Most people know what they want. It may take them a while to sort of find it or like dig down. Myself being one of those people. But it's in there. There's passion and drive and desire in you.
That's what she said.
You're fired.
Okay. See you next week.
Damn it. So the attraction thing is really about sort of, it's getting what you want. It's just about getting what you want. Let's just drop all the fancy fucking terms. It has nothing to do with anything. I mean, they're accurate and they're useful and they're brilliant. But like the gist of it is there anything that you want in life that you don't have? That $1 million that you'd like to earn, that, smoking hottie who rocks your world that you'd like to meet. It's like, this is what I do. This is about, learning to get what you want. Because if those are things that you genuinely want and you don't have them, then I hate to break it to you, sugar, but the only thing blocking you is you. That is absolutely the fact.
Yeah, I don't profess to be an expert in the law of attraction, but the things that resonate with me around that methodology is removing the counter intentions, because that seems again kind of results oriented. There's thought with plans without action, or thought without action is useless kind of thing. But oftentimes, at least in my own life, I've seen that I am the roadblock. My mindset, my belief, my actions, and they stem out of that obviously belief system. Or what I believe is going to happens, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So like I said, I think removing the counter-intentions is the kind of the linchpin in what most people perceive, or why most people perceive the law of attraction as just like fluff, essentially.
Yeah.
I heard that I don't really want to hear your Secret rant, but I heard that the Secret movie the intention was to introduce the concept and not teach the whole methodology. So that kind of reframes, because I think everybody, just expected to sit around and visualize $1 million, and then
Right.
the pallet truck backs up and drops it on your doorstep.
Right. Which, interestingly, and this is part of the rant, if you get out of your own way and that's actually what you want, that will actually happen. That's the frustrating part, is that it teaches accurate concepts. Is that a true thing about the universe? Yes, that's a true thing about the universe. Great. The problem is it's so oversimplified. And that's actually the end of the rant. It's just that's the only thing I feel about it. It is fundamentally accurate, but it's very oversimplified because there's a lot more to it. It's not just like, oh, this thing that I want. Okay, because there's different kinds of wanting, right? There's a concept that they totally skip over called negative pleasure, which is the rush that you get out of doing the shit that doesn't serve you and isn't good for you. So if I go, oh, what do you want? And you go, oh, yeah, I want to date a supermodel. Okay, well, we dig down a little bit. Maybe you don't actually want to date a supermodel. Maybe you actually just, you want someone who is super attractive to you, or maybe you want a status symbol, in which case a car is way lower maintenance. You know what I mean? What do you really want? Like, let's sort of bring it back down. So one of the things that happens, you carry around these sort of beliefs in your head, and I promise I'm going to explain this at some point. I didn't mean to go into quite this much detail before the sort of basics, but you have this thing that you want. You have these beliefs that you carry around. They're holding you back from getting it. And when those beliefs are proven right, it releases endorphins in your brain. It feels a little bit good because you're right, and being right feels good. The problem is it only feels this good, and what you want is to feel this good, because what you really want is, whatever it is the genuine want is after that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I've heard it likened to, you are getting results right now. You are attracting exactly what you expect, essentially. So, if your life is shit, you are getting those exact results. And I think on some level, whether you agree with something metaphysical happening or not, that really is something I can tangibly latch on to, is that whatever you believe, you are going to find evidence to support that. So if you believe that life is shit, you're going to look at, every little thing as like, oh, here's another piece.
Right.
So I think that if nothing else, that concept is extremely helpful to internalize, because if you believe life is good, then all of a sudden your mind, I've heard it also described as it relates to religion, and that our brains are set up to identify patterns. And
right, that's a survival thing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because essentially to avoid dying, we're constantly
actually to avoid dying.
Yeah, we're taking our stimulus in and going, okay, based on our database, which is really our beliefs, what does this fit in the parameters of like something that's going to kill you? So that's where I see that in the law of attraction, to come back to try and circle back. Essentially, we are identifying constantly things that support our belief system, and our brains are really good at identifying patterns.
Right.
So if you shift the belief, then all of a sudden your reality changes, because our perception is our reality.
Right. And that's why we're talking about your foundation sort of shaking when you start looking at yourself a little bit, because all that bullshit is stuff that's blocking you up and isn't working. It just isn't working.
This town needs an enema. That's a quote from the original Batman, and albeit one of the best. In my opinion.
Okay.
It's Jack Nicholson.
Oh yeah,
That's
the classic.
That's kind of why I blew
is
everybody's.
he the very first one?
Oh yeah.
Somehow I thought he was like the second or third.
No. Him and Michael Keaton.
That's good shit. Classic movies. Let's talk about that instead.
Well, I'm sure because pretty much every really popular, like pop culture type of story has archetypes that we could probably take apart.
Yep.
I think actually there's lots of YouTube channels that do just that.
I imagine so. Actually, that would actually be pretty interesting to watch. But all we can talk about here is sex and women and
you got all breathy when you said
how to
sex.
attract
It was
women
awesome.
and these tantric practices that allow you to have 4-hour orgasms.
I think we just went to a 1-900 number. Like.
Oh, look, there's calls coming in.
And the phone lines are lighting up.
Is that all I had to do? Shit. This is a lot easier than I thought. God, I was actually worried about bringing in some actual content. All right, so I kind of want to talk a little bit about what we're talking about, which may not be clear, and hopefully it is clear, but if not, this should help. So we're talking about patterns.
Do you want to introduce some metaphors to make this even more ambiguous?
Yes, we should just confuse the hell out of everyone and ourselves. That will be great.
Mission accomplished.
Kind of like The Secret.
Done and done.
I'm done for that one. Okay. All right. So here's where we start with this, and I this is one of the questions that I ask in my course. And that is imagine for a second, just suspend disbelief for just a minute, and imagine that everything in your life as it is exactly the way you want it on some level.
Oh, I like this.
So imagine for a second, consider the possibility, even if you know it's not true, just imagine for just a second, every single thing in your life, okay, every relationship you've ever attracted, you actually attracted it on some level. Something about you brought that person into your life. Okay? This is a really, really, really important concept. Possibly one of the most important concepts, kind of like in human existence. not to overblow my stuff here. But if this were not true, okay, if you were able to just, if you were able to create what you were getting, if you were able to find out how you create what you're getting, imagine if you were in the driver's seat of that process.
If it was conscious.
Mm-hmm. If you were consciously able, if you were willing to be brave and look at yourself and really consider that you may have attracted these people into your life. A lot of people can maybe get the wrong impression with that. They can see, so like it's my fault, like it's blame. Okay, which is just like a profoundly human concept. Like stop it. That's ridiculous. It's not about blame. Think of it this way. Just totally flip that around. If your life is 100%, not 99, 100% your responsibility on some level, then that means that it's within your control to change it.
Well, you're picking either way.
Huh?
If you're choosing to not be in control, then you are making a choice.
Absolutely.
That's a choice.
And that is what most people are doing in the world right now. Okay?
I never do that, ever.
Bitches are on autopilot. Okay? It is the goddamn Matrix outside my window.
No, but to bring that back, like, I think bring it back into that space, there really is an important concept. It is incredibly empowering. If you are 100% responsible for what you attract, then you have all the power. Right.
And you can make your life what you want.
And for those control freaks out there, and I know no men listening are at all, no one has that problem in our gender. So I found it to be incredibly empowering. Or using the different, maybe slightly different terminology, it gave me my power back when I realized that concept. And I set it down all the time. Like, I'm not saying that I'm some totem to this, but just it is incredibly, it makes me feel powerful when I view it in that light.
Yeah. And if that were the case, then all of a sudden your life is in your damn hands, as opposed to just, knocking around where the wind blows it. It's called a life by design, as opposed to a life by default.
Right.
Which is what sort of most people do. So I sort of joke, that in my practice, I take people off of autopilot. I have no agenda for people, whether they're sitting in front of me as a client or not. I don't care what you do with your life. You don't have to be, I work with I work with single men specifically, for the most part, who are looking for relationships. But I don't think it's better to be in a relationship at all. A lot of people are perfectly happy. If you're perfectly happy, then that's great. If there's anything that could be any better, then there's help,
Yeah, why don't you? This would be a good way to segue and to plug yourself.
What? Oh, I don't know what you're talking about.
On air? Really?
On air? Also, I'm very subtle.
yes, that's your middle name. No, just give us another elevator pitch on radical intimacy and what you do, so that we can kind of put hopefully a little container on how to a better venue to where to go. That sounds interesting, Dominey. How can I?
Oh, thank you so much for asking, Josh. You can visit my website at
subtle too.
DomineyDrew.com. Thank you so much.
I think I was fairly transparent. I did say to plug yourself.
Yeah, you're also not super subtle. I am not only not subtle, I do not surround myself with subtle people.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Ain't nobody got time for that shit. Shoot. Sorry, y'all. I have skills in other areas. Selling may not be one of them. But actually doing the work, boy, that's easy. So a lot of the stuff that we're talking about is essentially can be wrapped up in the concept of mindset, which is really about getting your head on straight and, tuning into the parts of your life that are real and adjusting the ones that aren't. For example, if I'm trying to do A, and I'm also trying to do B, and A is a great longing of mine, but B is something that I thought that I should do because my mother told me I should do it, then I will have a better life. I will be more me. I will be happier. I will be more enlivened. I will be less stressed. I will be more attractive if I drop B, because B is a belief system. So let's talk a little bit about what this is, because sorry, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, no, I mean, I genuinely mean it. Like, reiterate that you have a program. And what
yeah, right, I do. So I do. I have a 2-month program that you can read about on the website on DomineyDrew.com. If you want, I have a little video about it, which you can find at DomineyDrew.com/hello. And you're welcome to sign in there, listen to the video, send me any questions that you have. And it's a very powerful process. If you're before you book a free call with me, I actually have a survey that you fill out that asks you what your commitment level is. Because this is, it's an intense work. And so I tend to make sure people are really want to make this change, because it's really going to make a change.
Right. Do you want it? And I think that's sometimes, at least with myself, I'm not afraid per se of failure, especially at this point. I'm not afraid of failure. I'm sometimes afraid of the success. So,
yes.
You have to be ready to make changes to get what you want.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, getting what you want. That can scare the shit out of some people.
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
That can absolutely. That's something that, and when would it scare the shit out of someone? When it conflicts with something that they believe. If you have a firm belief that you can't have what you want, then you will keep yourself from being successful, period. You have to understand this. You are a wildly powerful being. If you say that you can't do something, you cannot. There is no getting around it. Like, that saying, whether you say you can't, or you say you can, or you say you can't, you're right.
Henry Ford, right?
I actually don't know. Is it?
I'm pretty sure. I'll ask the Google.
Google it. So smart.
It's just this is a fairly deep conversation. I wonder if we have a call.
Nope, I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
We're just unable to make to use technology. Again, other gifts. Do what you're good at.
Oh yes, the Google.
The Google.
Henry Ford, yeah. If you say you can't.
And that's really powerful. And I like those little. I like when fairly complex concepts like that can be wrapped up so simply. Whether you say you can, whether you think you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Yeah, you're right. It is Henry Ford.
Ah, well called. Nicely done. So I want to talk for just a minute, and then we can lighten up again, I promise. I don't get overly deep about how this all happens. So you have these patterns in your life. Maybe you don't even know that you have patterns yet. But if there's anything that you've been consistently unhappy about in your life, that is a pattern. It could be work. It could be money. It could be relationships. It could be sex. It could be happiness, like letting yourself be happy. It could be passion. It could be...
It's okay if you're crying right now.
I am. Thank you.
No, I was talking to our listener.
Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah. I'm
listener.
not. I'm not. I had something in my eye.
Is your mom listening?
I had something in my eye. It was my finger. I just put it. I just put it in there.
Sorry,
so
I totally lightened it before. You were trying to be dramatic. Damn it.
Nobody wants me to be dramatic. Like nobody. Like there's no one on the planet that is just not even something that people want.
They're gonna get it either way. So
here comes some drama, bitches.
Drop it like it's hot.
Boom. Truth bomb. Mic drop. Wait, don't drop my mic. No, don't do that. So how did these happen? So we develop these beliefs in childhood. Okay, and I'll talk more about this process sort of as we go through. I don't know if we'll do it right now, but we have these experiences in childhood, and children generalize. Okay, so if one thing happens to them, if mom goes away on a trip, and the child doesn't know that she's coming back, then in the child's mind, that actually the way these beliefs are formed is when a child has an experience that it believes its life is threatened. So for a child or a baby, that's not very hard, right? You leave it alone long enough and it'll die on its own. So children are easy to kill. And the child knows this instinctually, right? A lot of this comes down to natural selection and the evolution of humans. And so they come down, they have this experience, oh, mom left. They don't know whether or not she's coming back. And they may develop a belief at that moment, and depending on the child, it'll sound different. It'll be something like, women can't be trusted. Or...
That bitch left me.
That bitch left me. She gone. And so she... Or it could say, people leave. Or I'm unlovable. These sort of huge, wide, sweeping statements, which are in no way true. They're total misconceptions. That's not even necessarily what happened. So I'll refer a lot to a childhood wounding process or a wounding experience. Every child has this. You could have the perfect upbringing in childhood, and you will have a wounding experience, which is basically the sort of moment when you realize that your parents are kind of imperfect.
No.
I know. You would never know. So we have this kind of realization, but it comes through this oh my God, I'm going to die. That's how the child perceives it. So anyway, so then you have this belief, and you oh my God, people leave. Everyone leaves. Or women can't be trusted, and you form that belief. As a kid, you form that belief to protect yourself, so it never happens again, so that your life is never threatened again. This is total you see how this is, it seems complex and it happens in the psyche, but it's actually the same thing. The body protects itself, right? You want to survive. I will survive at all costs.
Well, it served you at the time.
And it absolutely served you at the time, or you thought that it did.
Yeah.
Right?
Thought you did.
And sometimes they actually do, like a coping mechanism, like when you grow up too fast. You're a kid, and you had something traumatic maybe happen when you were a child, and you had to be the adult. And that's very common, and that's a skill. It's a gift, really. But anyway, so then you grow up with this, women can't be trusted, and what happens is you find yourself attracted to people who prove you right, to life experiences that prove you right. So you will actually find yourself drawn. This is the attraction part. You not just attraction on a spiritual concept. You will want to have sex with women who cannot be trusted, who will treat you this way.
Fascinating. It really is. And one of the things I've seen this acted out in real life was I was a police officer for a couple of years. And
he wasn't, you guys. He was just a stripper.
Well,
That was just his favorite costume.
it was. It was.
He showed it to me. It's crotchless. I don't think that's a thing in North Carolina PD.
Well, yeah, there was. I did have the bulletproof, crotch codpiece, the bulletproof codpiece.
That I would buy.
So, anyways, with domestic abuse victims, predominantly women, they would, literally almost die in these situations, oftentimes, and they would either take, the abuser back, or even if they did somehow extract themselves from a relationship, almost, like 80% plus the time, they would find another abuser. And it would not, they obviously didn't poll people like, hey, are you a domestic abuser when they got together? That was what they were attracted to. So whether whether you are attracted to someone or whether you are attracting it is semantics, in my opinion. They were still picking predators because that felt like love to them.
Yeah, and by the way, that predator was also picking prey.
Right.
And maybe that's not even fair because, I mean, of course, that's the extreme part. By that point, it's more of a predator-prey dynamic. But there's, relationships that are negative in really small ways. Women who are like kind of dominant, not in a healthy way, that want to have control over their men, or always want to be right. Or, every time you say that you want to go out with your guys, she gives you shit about it. It's like, if you're not allowed to be who you are, and she needs to be who she is, and then you come together and you complement each other. But the people that you're attracted to, and we're going to come back to this, I imagine probably a lot, people you're attracted to are intentional on some level. There is something that is attractive to you about them, and part of that is their gifts, and part of that is their issues. If you are a very selfish person, then you will attract people who are selfless, because two selfish people together, generally, it's not fun. I want it to be all about me. Why are you making it all about you? Right? Whereas if I don't want it to be about me, and a lot of people do not, they want to hide. They don't want to be on stage. They don't want to be seen. People who are introverted or shy, or that's just not their interest. Then great. Then they may work better with someone who's got a bigger energy field, bigger personality, a louder voice.
Yeah, that's what they will be. That's what they'll attract.
Yeah. So it's really fascinating. It's a really fascinating topic. It's one of my favorites. And here's why it's one of my favorites. It's one of my favorites because we get to talk about sex, and I like talking about sex. But it's also one of my favorites because attraction is 100% authentic. Think about that. There's no faking attraction. Right? You can't pretend that it's not there when it is. You can't pretend it's there when it's not. So you've always got this this sort of meter of what's real and what isn't. If you're just like, oh yeah, I just met this woman and she seems great in every single way and she's everything I always said that I wanted. But like, you don't really want to tear her clothes off. Or you do, but it's kind of just because you want to have sex and it's not because of her. Things like that, then that's really powerful. That's your body talking to you. Because if you're, you can feel that attraction. It's visceral.
That's very fascinating. I especially the point where I think you mentioned she is everything you want, but all you care about is physical parts. I think that's interesting too, to have nuances within that. And I think in long-term relationships, especially too, that might be why you have ebbs and flows in attraction, sexual attraction. I guess is what I'm talking about specifically. Like if they're not fulfilling that pattern or that thing that you belief system.
Yeah.
Essentially, I could see that because there's times when you can be almost obsessively attracted to people, and even in a long-term relationship.
Yeah.
Sexually, specifically, I think I'm thinking of in this case, but I mean it could be anything.
Yeah.
And but there's definite ebbs and flows, at least in my experience. So it seems like that could play into it, like the fact that they're not, scratching your proverbial,
Yeah. Do go on.
Yeah. Well, scratching your proverbial, your proverbial.
That's what he calls it.
I know, belief system. Oh,
it's true, but it's true. I mean, if I have an issue, that issue doesn't bother you. I mean, when you like a person, when you are attracted to a person, you're attracted to their gifts. You're attracted to their issues. Their issues don't bother you, or they fulfill yours.
Right.
So there's all these elements. And yeah, let's say you guys had fantastic sex in the very beginning. There's so many reasons why it could fall off. People have, I just posted about this, I think, people have this conception that if it's true love, the sex will be epic. And it'll be epic right away, and it'll be epic forever. And that's a really, really, really dangerous myth.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of really intelligent, smarter than me people out there that are basically yelling that we're expecting this kind of concept of the nuclear family type of relationship. We're expecting so incredibly much out of our primary relationship.
Yeah.
And that's
you need to be my everything.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not only my only one, you're my everything.
Right.
And that's a huge amount of pressure. And pressure has a huge amount to do with impotence or guys not enjoying sex or not being able to perform. And we're going to talk a lot about that as well because that's something that men struggle with a lot. They feel like they should be virile all the time. They should be ready all the time. And fact of the matter is, that may not be the case. And there's 100 totally great, totally fine reasons why that may not be the case.
So let's tie this up in a little bow because we're running out of time here. But it's been great talking to you, Dominey. And
yeah, pleasure's all mine. Thank you so much for joining me. Guys, this has been a great show. We're going to wrap it up here. We've got a lot of material for you for our next few shows. We're really excited. I hope you'll tune in again and send your information at Dominey Drew to Twitter. Not your information, like your contact information, but any input that you have about the show or things that you want to see. We're going to go over Tinder accounts. We're going to talk about online dating. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. And we've loved having you, and we will be on shortly. If you want any more information, feel free to stop by DomineyDrew.com. All right. Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.